I want to be able to contribute
we have
to that.
Pikes Peak, you know. We got mountains and we're close to them, and that was my main draw to Colorado Springs, in that it wasn't sardine packed.
Dude, it's the stigma, and there's a lot of stigmas here, but like whenever I lived anywhere else in Colorado and they talked about the Springs, like some of them loved them, some of them were like, oh, the Springs. And I'm like, we have so many, Garden of the Gods, Pikes Peak, Seven Falls, the Olympic Training Center, the Olympic Museum. They have so many great things. We just need somebody to package it all up and tie it all together and like celebrate that. Because like, who all knows besides people that live here that it's Olympic City, USA? Who all knows that? Like, who's not from Colorado Springs?
No one.
That's pretty cool.
Only Olympians, probably.
That's pretty cool. You know, we have to like. It's cool. I think right now we're in the process of like getting everybody to like know that top of mind here in the Springs. But there is going to be a time where the state's going to have to know, and the rest of the United States is going to have to know.
Well,
you know?
I'm sure I wasn't the only one. When I was told that, hey, we're going to Colorado Springs to do some construction, are you in? I was like, cool. I thought I was going to Denver. I thought it was a suburb of Denver. I didn't realize it was its own like separate thing. I mean, it's an hour drive, which is pretty close to a big city. And I mean, being an hour away from a big city such as Denver is pretty close, borderline metro, but not at all. You know, it's like it's an hour. You know,
right?
But I mean, it could take you an hour just to get from the bottom of Denver's metro to the top of Denver's metro. You know,
yeah, it's big.
Yeah, and so it's like it's not that far. And I mean, on the map, that's where I thought I was going, but I didn't find out until I was actually here that they're completely different. It's just too. I mean, the only thing we get from Denver is the homeless people. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, we are building ourselves like our own little self-identity, and there's a lot of great players that we know who are helping contribute to that and like the future of the Springs, which is super exciting too. I think every time I've come on here, I've talked about like the amazing people that we have, you know, that have like, and they're all, the funny thing is they're all transplants, which is kind of hilarious if you think about it. They're all transplants, and these are all the people who are like taking the vision of the Springs and like throwing out that huge blanket to other people to adopt and be like, yeah, that sounds awesome.
A lot of them are millennials too.
Yep.
I actually, when I first moved out here, I read an article saying that Colorado Springs almost every year gets published in one magazine of being the number one place to live in America, one magazine or another, and it was the number one place for millennials to live. You know, that was that article, that publication. Colorado Springs continuously gets placed in different publications of being one of the top places to live in the world.
Right.
And it's pretty cool. But it's like we're such a big and small city at the same time.
Yeah, lots of little mini pockets. Like I'm from Northgate. Like we had no reason to ever come downtown or anywhere else because we had everything in Northgate.
Oh yeah,
and it's probably even worse now because they have like Whataburger, In-N-Out, Top Golf, like, that big amphitheater that's going in there. It's gonna be rivaling Red Rocks is in their hopes at least of what it's gonna do. So like if we're able to like centralize that downtown, whatever that vibe, that taste that we're trying to give our city, it's gonna be game over. Like we have a lot of infrastructure to be as big as Denver, even area wise. We do, you know.
And it's like whether we want it or not, that's coming. That's happening. Like, whether you want it or not, like cities grow, especially ones with this potential as Colorado Springs.
Yeah. It's exciting at times to be a millennial. I mean, every generation, but it's exciting times to just live here in the Springs too. Just because you know it's kind of a change of guards going on right now. It's pretty exciting, and we know. So many people who are doing so many fun things to build a melting pot in the Springs, which makes it so much more exciting. I think that's why you and I get jazzed about this town, you know, and like laying our roots here. I think people underestimate like that decision. Like that's an important decision, and it doesn't come lightly for any person, of course, right? To lay your roots down in a city. This city didn't have that for a long time. It was the city of like you go to college and then you leave for Denver or Fort Collins or Boulder or out of state or whatever. And that guard's changing.
Or you're here for the military and then you leave and you may come back.
Very transient.
Actually, that's what happens. A lot of, I think, the transplants are ex-military who were stationed here at one point in time, and they liked it. You know, that's actually a common theme I've seen. I was just talking about Dylan Newman earlier. He's one of those guys.
Dylan?
The guy who owns Dart Wars.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Okay, cool.
Oh, I brought him up when I was talking about how like he was the episode we were on lav mics. You know, that's what I was saying.
Right.
But he's a good example of someone who was in the military who came here and was traveling, lived in Germany and stuff like that for the military, and decided to ultimately plant his roots here when he retired. And he was doing like a lot of the Spartan races and stuff like that. He was like organizing a lot of those. So yeah, I just wanted to throw that detail in there. I don't know why. I don't know.
Well, it layers on to why the city's like, there's so many different people, different stacks of life who like adopt this place for different reasons, And
a lot of it is military, though.
Yeah, a lot of it is the big. We have 4 military installations here. We would have had 5 with the Space Force, but I think they might be leaving here soon. We're trying to fight that.
Yeah.
But so yeah, it's definitely a military town, but it's changed a lot too. It's not just a military town now.
I mean,
a long time it was a military town. That's it. But it's turning into other things, which is exciting. What were you saying?
Well, I was just saying we have Cheyenne Mountain.
Yeah.
Like,
NORAD.
That's a massive piece of military, whatever you call it.
Yeah, NORAD's ridiculous. It used to be where any high up official would go to seek safety away from nuclear threats.
Yeah.
I mean, it's legit. That's why
I think it still is probably, huh?
Yeah, the Springs probably is high up there on like at least
security.
Yeah, and for other countries, like if they were to ever seek an attack, like this town is on a list somewhere, just because of that.
I've already thought about that so many times.
Yeah.
It's kind of like it makes you feel safe, being around so many military things, but it also makes you feel like a target too.
Yeah. Well, the one thing we have here too is a very, very high level of cybersecurity. I think a lot of the installations specifically regarding cybersecurity and
I've
private
thought
and
about that
government.
too. I bet every message I've ever sent in this town has been very thoroughly.
Well, I don't know what you're sending, Andrew, but
I don't want to know.
Yeah. But yeah, so there's a lot going on here, man. It's cool, and with the festival, I feel like it's built out its own little flavor, which is super special too.